ఈవినింగ్ మాల్యాద్రి గారు.
శైలజ గారు.
నమస్తే సార్.
గుడ్ ఈవినింగ్ మాల్యాద్రి గారు.
సార్ గుడ్ ఈవినింగ్ సార్.
గుడ్ ఈవినింగ్. గుడ్ ఈవినింగ్. You can start, sir.
Sir.
You can please.
My supreme namaskarams to all the elders and best wishes to each one of you who are aspiring for becoming an IAS or any other good post. We are now discussing and interacting with each other on several important aspects of day-to-day life and how it is connected to the rights and duties and the Constitution. In the previous classes, we discussed about whether we interacted about the origin of the Constitution right from as long back as 1757 or so up to the end of making the Constitution. And then in the second class, we discussed about various fundamental rights and duties and remedies and all that. In order to just to have a nap over the subject which we really enjoyed in the previous two classes, I am just telling to you, at least when we look at the Constitution of us, we are aware about the fact that the freedom fighters, they fought a lot for their basic human rights, and then after winning the battle peacefully, the British agreed to give freedom to us, and there were roundtable conferences, and especially there was a fight for autonomy while the leaders like M.K. Gandhi and Jawaharlal Nehru, who believed in peaceful protest, were influential, and there was a threat of an armed struggle possibly under the leadership. So because of that, we got the Constitution, and we got the Constitution with the 385 articles and 8 schedules and whatnot, you know very well. Today we are having 448 articles, 25 parts and 12 schedules. You may ask me a question, sir, how these many articles have come into existence and those many schedules and parts, and how the Constitution is developed? That is one question which is lingering in the mind of all of us, which we have to answer. That is one aspect. Another thing is what is going on today in the Honorable Supreme Court in respect of constitutionality and legal illegality and whatnot. And we have seen in the previous occasion about the various important decisions of the Honorable Supreme Court delivered in respect of Article 21, 19, 14 and 32 and other articles. While so, I could possibly spend a good amount of time for explaining about Article 21 and 19, but would not project and fully say about Article 14 and also Article 226 and Article 32. 32 I explained partly, but we need to know Article 32 fully, and also about fundamental duties, especially about law relating to education and all that. Before actually going into the subject, I'll just make you to understand, rather for my benefit, I tell you what is Article 141 and 142, which I have already stated. Unless and until we understand these two articles fully and correctly, we will not be able to understand the day-to-day orders of the Honorable Supreme Court and how the justice is being done, keeping in view of the preamble of the Constitution, especially in order to achieve the goals of the Constitution which are mentioned in the preamble. So Article 141 says, the law declared by the Supreme Court shall be binding on all courts within the territory of India. So, if any decision is given by the Honorable Supreme Court, it is binding on all courts. Then Article 142 says, the Supreme Court, in the exercise of its jurisdiction, may pass such decree or make such orders as is necessary for the doing complete justice in any cause or matter pending before it, and any decree so passed or order so made shall be enforceable throughout the territory of India in such manner as may be prescribed. So, the Honorable Supreme Court, in a way, omnipresent and powerful in all aspects of the lives of the people of this country. Then, when we understand Article 141 and 142, we are aware about the fact that the preamble of the Constitution, we have some goals to achieve. What are the goals? The goals are, rather, we now decided to constitute or to make India into a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic, and to secure to whom? For its citizens. What? Justice. What type of justice? Social, economical, and political. Then liberty of thought, expression, belief, faith, and worship. Then equality of status and of opportunity. And also to promote among them all fraternity, assuring the dignity of the individual and the unity and integrity of the nation. These are the goals which we want to achieve. How we can achieve? We want to achieve it through social revolution. How we get that social revolution? Through the mechanism of democracy. You know very well what is democracy. The people rule themselves by electing a government in which majority members of the parliament or assembly will be in the government, and then the opposition, they are also elected, but they are short of majority. So the opposition duty is to check how the government is functioning. This is how we want to achieve the goals. What is that goal we want to achieve? Rather, we want to have a welfare state. Welfare state means where every citizen of the country have got all basic human rights and enjoy their life happily. Then we discussed at length about Article 21. Article 21, I read for the sake of all of us. That is, no person shall be deprived of his life or personal liberty, except according to the procedure established by law. Procedure established by law or process of law or due process, whatever way you call. You see, some people, they compare our constitution with the constitutions of the other rest of the world, But that is not so. By the time when we got freedom, there are many other countries which were having freedom and functioning with a good setup or good law or constitution, either written or oral or customized constitution. Our constitution is drafted taking into account of several difficult situations and nearly 500 and add princely states, so many other difficulties, and then separation of Pakistan and Bangladesh or whatnot from India and all that. Keeping all these things in view, our constitution, taking advantage of the constitutions which are already available, is drafted. So while comparing our constitution with the constitutions of any other country, or while comparing about the applicability of the principles of law in our country, in the other countries. For example, we have preamble, we have basic structure concept of the constitution. This basic structure of the constitution thought or principle are accepted by some countries and some courts in other countries, but not all. Some of them have refused to accept this. Why that is so? Why it has happened like that? Because their constitutions and their conditions, their factions, the facts and circumstances in their countries are different. So with this small background, now let us see what is happening in the Supreme Court at present and how we are dealing with the rights of fundamental rights of each individual when they approached and when actually implemented. You know very well, nowadays everybody is talking about oxygen. Everybody is talking about the anomalies or difficulties they are facing with the doctors or medical system and whatnot. You know about the concept of public interest litigation. When you call about the public interest litigation, you must be in a position to understand about the locus standi. Then what is locus standi? Locus standi is an important aspect where semblance of rights in order to approach the court of law and stand before the court and to seek and ask certain remedies, you must show that you are having a right to do so. I will tell you an example. Before going into the public interest litigation concept, I will tell you a small example. Today I have read in the newspapers that do you know where from we are getting oxygen? Definitely most of us are not aware about. We tell about planting the plants. We tell about not using of petrol or carbon and all that. But in fact, we are getting 70% of oxygen from the sea, inside the sea, from the plants. There are certain plants, real plants. There are certain plants which are plant type plants. They give oxygen to us. 70% we are getting from that, and 26% or 28% or so from other sources, and 3% only from the plants which we are seeing on the earth we are getting. So there is a damage going on to the sea. Suppose as an individual you want to approach any honorable court regarding the damage that is caused to the plants in the sea, where from we are getting 70% of the oxygen all over the world, not at one place. This nature in which we are sleeping coolly and comfortably, feeling that, okay, this is my right, is not of you individual, because earth is rotating, and earth is rotating, nature, calamity, environment and all that, they are also moving. So you want to implement a right regarding happy living with a good oxygen, connecting to the international or rights of all individuals, entire people of this world. So the court will ask, you want to implement a right. What right it is? It's not yours. It's a public right. Public right. When public right is in question, can you claim that you are having locus standi before the court? So the concept of locus standi is developed from day to day. Originally, initially, this concept of locus standi started in England in respect of a river. First case, that river case is one person, he wants to get cleaned of river. He approached the court. Then the court asked, what locus standi you are having? That is the duty of the government. It will take care of. Why are you asking the court to implement? What is the loss to you? Then that way it went, and finally the court held that he is having a locus standi to approach the court. That way locus standi is started. Just we have got one famous case from Andhra Pradesh. That is the case which was the writ petition is numbered by Honorable Justice Chinnapareddy. While on a Sunday, while he was sitting in his garden, he was reading a newspaper in which there is a letter written by somebody in respect of some LIC problems of somebody residing nearby to his house. And then after reading it, he felt that injustice is done to that person and there is violation of fundamental rights. So immediately he numbered that, treated that letter as a writ petition and then numbered and granted the relief. The person who got the relief is not aware of any court proceedings. He did not approach the court. He did not even ask the court to do anything. Even the person who wrote the letters to the editor, he does not know that one day the court will read this particular letter and treat it as a writ petition. But ultimately, the person who was put to loss or damage got the justice, and this is how we can treat the public interest litigation, where the actions or the orders of the administration will be viewed or reviewed by the courts by way of judicial review. Keeping this fact in view about public interest litigation, now let us see what is happening in the Honorable Supreme Court. I will take up 3 cases, important cases which are going on now in the Honorable Supreme Court, and we'll discuss, and then we will go to Article 19 part of it and Article 14, and then finally we'll see how we can amend the Constitution. These are all the things which today we are planning to discuss. Let us see what is happening or what is the latest order passed by the Honorable Supreme Court. One Kerala journalist, you must be knowing about him fully. His name is Siddiqui Kappan. The Honorable Supreme Court granted 5 days bail to him in order to meet his mother. He is arrested and kept in jail in Uttar Pradesh. The highlights of this matter is his mother is 90 years old. This man is in jail. He wants to meet his mother. Then the Honorable Supreme Court granted bail to him. Bail means not by way of keeping him outside the jail totally, but physically he is out of the court, but he is in judicial custody. That is how the bail is granted. The interim bail is granted. How? Only limited period for 5 days, and then during his visit he can't speak to media or post on social media. He was held under a law on terrorism while on his way to Hathras. So what is happening? He is having right to freedom of speech under Article 19. his life or personal liberty has to be protected. Then he must be treated with equal and good and correct laws. When keeping in view of all these three things, restrictions are put on him on his rights. Siddiqui Kappan is a Kerala journalist. While he was on his way to Hathras in Uttar Pradesh to report on the alleged gang of rape of a Dalit woman, he is arrested. While he was on way, he was granted bail by the Supreme Court for 5 days with conditions. So, whom he can meet during his visit or on his way to Kerala also fixed by the Honorable Supreme Court. He can meet his relatives, doctors, and anybody connected to his mother's health. Here the important thing is mother's health. The mother's health of an individual who is in jail is considered by the Honorable Supreme Court as the life under Article 21 or personal liberty of this individual. So an individual who is in jail can claim bail by claiming that his mother's ill health is also part of his right to life or right to personal liberty. The question is here, whose life is it? Not the person who is in jail. It is the indirectly life of his mother who is taking treatment. He wants to protect, he wants to aid his mother. So this man's right to life or personal liberty is included with the health condition of his mother. So that's how we treat Article 21, the words life or personal liberty. Then we can go further about this this case. The Honorable Supreme Court, though granted bail, though put the conditions, given the escort to him, escort cops to Kerala from UP, and it will be the responsibility of the UP police to ensure his travel and return. So while this person is enjoying or implementing his right to life or personal liberty, or expressing or exercising right to freedom of speech or expression, the court put the duty on the state. Baba, he was granted bail, but please ensure his travel. It is your responsibility for his travel and return. Not only this, previously he was allowed to speak with his mother on video. Because she was unconscious at a hospital in his hometown in Kerala's Mallapuram, he could not speak. So the court is taking into consideration of all the physical comforts or discomforts of the life of somebody, that is mother of him, while considering the right to life or personal liberty of this particular accused Siddiqui. So here what we have to see is, while reading the words of any article, fundamental right, whether we have to give wider scope or while interpreting the words, we have to give wider meaning or not, this has to be seen. Then another interesting thing is, another order is also passed by the Honorable Supreme Court recently, just 1 day or 2 days back, about this man only for shifting of him from Uttar Pradesh hospital to Delhi hospital. The court ordered to shift this journalist Kappan from where to where? To a hospital in Delhi what is that hospital also the court has ordered? Either Ram Area Lohia Hospital or the AIMS or similar that type of hospital. This is the first order of the Honorable Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, that is Mr. N.V. Ramana Garu and Surya Kant and A.S. Bampanna. When the Solicitor General Tushar Mehta for the state said that if he is shifted, similar other persons who are in similar conditions, they also have to be shifted. He is having sound health. And why should he be shifted? This is the argument of the other side. The Honorable Supreme Court has held that once he gets sound health, again he can be shifted to Madura jail, where he could take appropriate measures for relief in accordance with the law. This is what Supreme Court has held. So, in fact, the Kerala Union of Working Journalists alleged that Mr. Kappan has been chained to a cot in the hospital where he was admitted to after falling into bathroom and later testing positive for COVID-19. But the government has contended that Mr. Kappan was already under the judicial custody, so he is not having COVID-19. He should not be shifted. All these things are contended. So what I would like to impress upon you, all of you, is while reading any word, while interpreting any word in any article, you must keep in view the happenings in the society. Because Constitution is not a static document. It's not static. It's a vigilant. It's a very powerful. It will keep everything in its view. All words have to be understood with the objects or words mentioned in the preamble of the Constitution and the articles of the Constitution, especially fundamental rights. So this is one thing about one aspect about interpreting Article 21 and Article 19. Now, what is the next one is the Honorable Supreme Court recently regarding supply of oxygen. Supply of oxygen also, the court did consider the lives of, not only each individual lives of all the people of this country, especially the Delhites. The observation of the court is that Delhi represents the nation and there is hardly anyone ethnically Delhi. You have a special responsibility as the center. Why I am reading this article is to make you to understand the Honorable Supreme Court, while observing about how to transport the oxygen liquid or oxygen gas from state to state, the Justices Nageshwar Rao and S. Ravindra Bhatt observed that as a national authority which has a responsibility to the national capital, you are answerable to the citizens. This is important. Why the central or state governments are answerable to the citizens? Because the Constitution says that each individual, each citizen has got fundamental rights and they can approach the Honorable Supreme Court or High Court directly under Article 32 or under Article 226. The powers of the Honorable High Court under Article 226 is wider and more and better than the powers of the Supreme Court. When we read those two articles, I will explain about them. So, on the issue of oxygen shortage across the country, the court held that when the Solicitor General, that is the advocate of the center said, there is no oxygen shortage but availability in some areas. For instance, Delhi might be deficient because of inadequate lifting of oxygen supplies. So the Honorable Supreme Court has observed that center cannot say that I was able to keep or make availability of oxygen at one place because it is the duty of the state government and there is inadequate lifting of oxygen supplies. Then center cannot say that it is state government's fault. They are not supplying it. They are not lifting it. So there is a failure like that. The court held that don't fight between center and state. It is a cumulative or collective responsibility of the center and state to see that the lives of people are protected. When the patient is going to die, why you are fighting? In fact, the Honorable Supreme Court observed like this. The bench noted that as against 700 MT demand made by the Delhi government, center had allocated on 490 MT of oxygen. It noted that as many as 500 lives were lost in merely 5 days and immediate steps must be taken to ameliorate the situation. The bench also asked the Delhi government to not indulge in political bickering and to work in cooperation with the central government during the humanitarian crisis. The court further observed that politics is at the time of elections. There has to be sense of cooperation, a spirit of dialogue saving lives in the priority. Observed by Justice Chandrachud while asking GNCTD Counsel Rahul Mehra to convey his message to the highest authority in the state. So both Mehra and H.G. Mehta expressed that the observation of the bench will be followed in letter and spirit. Because Delhi is a non-industrial state and in the absence of any production, it does not have cryogenic tankers for transportation of liquid oxygen. So the court did consider about the keeping of the oxygen at one place and shifting the same or lifting the same to other places by way of transportation of liquid oxygen by way of or through cryogenic tankers. So what I would like to impress upon you is that Constitution is a living document. It's not static. So while reading any articles, what you call words, day-to-day happenings, you must keep in mind. Life today is different.
Sir, shall we join again, sir?
Yeah, 1 minute,
Shall
madam.
we-
After finishing, I'll join. 1 minute is there.
Okay.
Life today is different from the life yesterday. Life tomorrow will be different from today. So, if there are change of facts and circumstances relating to your life, you have to read Article 21 also in the same way. You can't read the word life how you read yesterday about it. Suppose today you are having AC facility in your house. You have to consider that there is a AC facility, then you will enjoy the AC facility. Yesterday, AC was not there. Tomorrow, AC better than some other, better than AC, some other facility may be there. So when you are considering the words life or personal liberty or right to freedom of speech or expression or anything, these words you have to consider about what is happening around you or in the society today and what may or what will happen in future. Keeping all these things in view, you have to interpret the words and understand each word in each article. So the word life or personal liberty or the word freedom of speech or expression, these things you must keep in your mind always in a living